and welcome to the This Is Metal Show with Tom Collier. Now, Tom and I, we're supposed to have a guest today, Eric Fortune from the band Seven Train, the guitar player. And he hasn't shown up, so I'm not sure what the story is, but in the attitude Tom and I have, the show must go on. So we're going to just go ahead and have a show today without any guests. So, Tom, we've just really been on a roll lately. We had to take a few weeks off because me specifically, I had to go to jury duty, which let me tell you a funny story about that. So for 1 week, I had to call in every day to find out if I even had to go. And they tell me, thank you for calling. You do not have to report to court today. So then I go on to work, but basically we could not schedule any shows for that week until I knew that I didn't have to do it. So you have to do that for like 1 week. And then they tell you, thank you for calling this week. Your service is done. So ever since we got back into doing shows, I mean, the first show we did was with Jeff Pilson, and we interviewed him about this project. It's kind of a Frontiers project called Revolution Saints. And what's interesting about the project, anybody's followed Jeff Pilson over the years, he's a great songwriter. He's always involved with the songwriting in any project. He's not this time around, but yet being the great musician he is, he's got other great musicians involved with this project. Not really his project, but basically the record company hired these guys, Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake, and then Dean Casanero, the drummer from Journey, and he's briefly in the Dead Days. He's done many other things. He's actually plays the drums, and he's the lead singer. And none of these guys were really involved with the songwriting, but I tell you, these songs came out killer.
Yeah, they were great. I loved it. I love that album and stuff. But I think the next album, what Jeff was saying, that they're all involved in the songwriting. So I think it'll even take it to the next level. Those guys did such a great job. I thought just a great job on that album. It was every song on there was fantastic, and Jeff being in Foreigner now too. I mean, Foreigner, he's been around for a long time.
Funny you mentioned Foreigner because not having anything to do with our interview with Jeff, but since we spoke with them, the news broke with the reason that the founding member of Foreigner, which is Mick Jones, a guitar player, for the last several years, people kind of been wondering, he's still technically a member of the band, but he hasn't been doing any live shows with the band. People have been kind of questioning, what's going on, and they just say, he's got some health issues. Well, Mick finally came clean, and he revealed that he's been a number of years ago, very much like Glenn Tipton, Judas Priest, and Ozzy, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, so he's unable to get up there and play now.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, look at Lou Gramm with the tumors he had in his brain and stuff. And Lou's out there singing now. He's not doing the full night, but Lou's kicking ass too. Great singer. So I mean, it just happens as we get older. Health issues come, and it's more and more. But yeah, you're right, absolutely. And look at Mick Mars. I mean, he was inducted while we were out at the Hall of Fame, and I mean, he's got MS, and he's slowed down. I mean, but he's fantastic still. I mean, his new album. What do you think of his new album? I loved it.
Let me tell you. I got the new album, and it was not exactly what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it kicked ass. I'll say that. And I see a lot of people kind of disappointed because it did not sound just like Motley Crue. I didn't think it was going to. I thought maybe we're going to get maybe more of a bluesy album, but it's almost got some of it's almost got a Alice in Chains kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I loved it. Had some heavy stuff in there, and even a little one of the songs, I can't remember what it was, had a little bit of a doom metal feel to it, like the old Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. It was nothing I expected to hear from Mick Mars, but I'll tell you, incredible, just incredible. I love that.
I will say about Mick, he's not suffering with MS. I can't even pronounce, but it starts with an A, accolade something. And basically what it is his spine kind of infuses, and it's difficult for him to be up on stage and play for long hours and walk around too often. And I think that had a lot to do with why when we did go out to the Hall of Fame. He lives in Nashville these days. Of all Motley Crue guys, he's the oldest. He's like, I think 72 or something like that. And so what was cool though, he sent a video, and you could really tell, he was thanking everybody for his induction into the Hall of Fame. And he was really kind of thanking the fans, letting them know how much he appreciated even just, being inducted. And you could just, even though it was a video, you could feel how humble he was.
Oh, absolutely. He what I've seen about Mick, other than the lawsuits and stuff like that's going on, I've really never heard him say anything too bad about the guys in Motley Crue. I mean, he's always been more cordial than some of these bands when they have their breakups, whatever you want to call it. they become so adversarial. But he was kind of like a gentleman a lot. I mean, he fought back,
Yeah.
but I thought he was quite a gentleman during this whole thing that's been
Yeah,
going
in
on.
fact, from what I know, we only know, of course, what we read, Tom, but
Sure.
he's been probably the most quietest guy in Motley Crue over the years. He's given interviews every now and then, but not as many as other guys. He's not as talkative. Like you said, he doesn't like to kind of put the dirt out there. But from what I understand, the reason he kind of went ahead with the lawsuit, a couple things is he felt that the guys were kind of really, not they were trying not to give him what they had promised. Oh, you're not going to be touring anymore, so you don't deserve even merchandise, or you don't. That's kind of what I read that he was saying, and we want to cut you from 25% to some ridiculous percentage, And he like, except for Nikki, I'm the one guy that's been there on every album until now, and so he was kind of fighting, I guess you could say, for his rights, and rightfully so. And I understand too that Nikki was doing interviews, and some other guys, especially Nikki, from what I understand, and he'd be going telling the press stuff like, "Oh, Nick's forgetting things. He doesn't remember things." Like making
Yep.
little innuendos, and Mick, I guess, wanted to kind of make people understand. No, I'm still with it.
Absolutely. And he is, his new album shows that, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just, I don't like when these iconic bands like that have been, staples in the music world when they start fighting, but it's a part of life.
Mm.
I've always said you put three guys together, two are going to gang up on one. It just happens. It's a part of life,
And
unfortunately.
Mick has been working on this album for like, I want to say, probably close to over 10 years, and I think it took him a while to find the band, the musicians, but he got a lot of natural guys. One of the guys involved, I know, with the writing, he plays guitar and does keyboards, is Paul Taylor from Winger.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. He brought it. The band is a stellar band. The guys he got in there. I mean, it was. I really liked the album a lot. I was happy. I love when seeing musicians come back and do something a little bit different because everybody expected the Motley Crue. I didn't. I was so happy to hear that album. I thought, wow.
In fact, you can hear, Tom, you and I both equally really were impressed by Mick's album. I think we've talked about maybe doing an episode where we're really going to kind of get into the album a little more and review it. But before we move on today, I want to say, typically, I'm not a big fan of like instrumental guitar stuff, but I was really impressed with the instrumental track on here. He calls it Ellie Nor, and I dare say this is maybe Mick Mars's equivalent to Eddie Van Halen's Eruption,
Oh
because
yeah,
it's more than just your typical instrumental track.
it was, and even maybe we'll think about Surfing with the Alien. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
little
yeah.
Stevie Vai. I mean, it was something I didn't expect either. I didn't expect an instrumental on there, and it was like, wow, I love when stuff like that happens. I think that's probably why I was so impressed by the album too.
In fact, he was talking about the instrumental track. I got the latest Guitar World magazine where Mick is on the cover, and of course he's talking about the new album. And in regards to the instrumental track, he says that we needed one more track for the album. That was the last track I had, and so we went with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on my Great American Rock album, we were in the studio and people were watching us, and I put together this song called Chaos, and it was the first ever instrumental album. And we recorded the whole thing live in the studio, and it was like people were like, "Wow!" It was just
What
something
is
different, and it came out great, and it made the album. We said, "There you go." I
this?
said, "No edits, just put it on all raw."
And in fact, we're not alone in how we feel about the new Mick Mars album. It's called The Other Side of Mars, very fitting title. But from what I understand, first week out, it hit number one.
It did, and I think he's still up there. Who else is doing well? Um, geez, my brain just went.
Ace Frehley.
Foghat,
Oh,
Foghat,
fuck yeah, yeah.
Foghat. I love that they're on the blues charts too, not just the rock. They're on the Billboard blues charts. What do you think about that? I mean,
Well,
we
yeah,
never knew.
in fact, I brought that up, I think, when I was watching back our interview recently with Chaz West and Jimmy
Yep.
from Westbound. I had mentioned that during that interview, and it does impress you because, as a musician yourself, Tom, just the thought of your album being on the Billboard chart at all is pretty
Yep.
impressive. But and of course, Foghat's got elements of blues, but I don't think typically people think of them as a blues band. And so the fact that they were on the Billboard, since this album has been released, I'm talking about, it has been on the Billboard Rock Chart plus the Blues Chart. That's quite an impressive feat.
That doesn't happen very often. You don't see people cross over like that. And I'm happy for Foghat to see them do that. I mean, they've really proved the music world that, hey, we can come back. We're not living off our catalog. We can come out there and we can do something special. And I think this
And if
new album,
anybody knows anything about Foghat, I mean, one thing I respect about the band is no matter what people think, they continue to put out new music. I mean, at this point, they are a legendary band. They don't have to. They could kind of live off of Flow Ride and Fool for a City and stuff like that. But they're constantly pumping out new music, and the new music doesn't necessarily sound like the classic stuff, but that's all right too.
oh, absolutely. I just want to make love to you, tunes like that. I mean, we all grew up on that. The Fool for the City. I mean, Foghat was an iconic band, and their new album, they just continue to evolve. I mean, when you're on the rock chart and the blues chart, I just have to say that's evolved. Your music is
And
evolved.
the latest album, Sonic Mojo, I think it's even more. It's more of a solid album than the album they put out about 7 years before, which was pretty good in its own right. But this is kind of you could tell when you listen, maybe they spent more time writing the songs and kind of hashing out the songs because it's really a focused album.
Oh, absolutely. Well, see, I knew Jeff Howell when he was playing bass with
Yeah,
them.
yeah, you mentioned it before.
Yeah, Jeff and I became friends, and he played with Savoy Brown, and then Jeff passed away. In fact, just a side note, I had sold Jeff's ex-wife, Linda, after he passed away. She bought a home from me, and she's just a sweetheart, very nice lady, and she wanted to get up in this area up to upstate New York near her family. I can't say where her home's at, but
Yeah. We got
but just and she's just heartbroken over him. She said he was just such a gentle, great guy and such a fantastic. And Foghat is still part of her life. Like they invite her up there. I mean, they still treat her like family. And she
Yeah,
said that to me.
and I dare say Foghat to me is kind of the equivalent of Leonard Skinner in the sense that Roger Earl. I mean, Skinner now doesn't have any original members; they're all passed on. But
Yep.
Roger Earl, the drummer, he's the sole original member, and yet he's had members come and go, but he's still there doing it. And you got to love that.
Absolutely. And it's Foghat. I mean, people say they're tribute bands and all this stuff. I laugh all the time. I said, you know what? I'm the only member of Held Hostage. If you've seen us in 1980, it's nobody has half the guys have passed away or they're no longer in the band. I said, I'm the only one left here. Do you call me a tribute band? They're like, well, no, because you write all the music.
Right,
Said,
yeah, right. Yeah.
but still, I said, when someone says that to me, oh, there's only one or two members left. I said, but it's the important members, like Roger Earl. How much more important can you be than him?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. So when people say that to me, say, I know all the guys in Molly Hatchet have passed away. They're still, but they're really. I love that we got to
and why I make that comparison, of Skinner and Foghat is because, especially in Skinner's case, you could say with no original members, people say, okay, what's the point? But it's almost become like if you go to their concerts, it's much more of an seeing your favorite rock band. It's family. It's tradition. It's kind of like maybe like when somebody dies on a football team. The whole football team doesn't kind of just pack up and go home. There's a replacement or whatever. But it's almost like with Skinner, even the legacy continues. This is a soundtrack to our lives, and we're continuing to play these songs that we all grew up on.
Sure. Well, of course, Artemis Pyle is still alive, the drummer for Skinner. Yeah. He goes out and he does his own version of Skinner too.
Sure. Yeah.
But you're right. It is when I seen them right after the plane crash, and it was Donnie Van Zandt came out and sang with him. Which brother? One of the brothers. It's with
Johnny Van Zandt. I think Donnie was a singer. I think in 38 Special.
He sang. He did. Johnny Van Zandt was a guitar player in his own band. When they came back out, he came out there and played. And I'll never forget how emotional it was seeing these guys back out for their first concerts and stuff. And he walked up and they were playing Freebird, and he put his brother's hat on the microphone. He said, I can't sing the song. They didn't. It's incredible instrumental version. There wasn't a dry eye in the place.
Yeah, I bet.
So when you talk about it's an experience. It was like a family thing. Everybody in the place just came together. It didn't matter just for that song. It was amazing the power of it. I never seen a band do that. He just walked up and said, I can't sing the song. Only my brother could. And he put the hat on there. But I mean, the whole night prior to that, it was, him singing and stuff. So
yeah. And, we're kind of in the what I'm calling the second season of the This Is Metal show, since we kind of started having interviews and guests. And this is kind of what I'm calling Tom's second season as a co-host, because it's not your typical season. What I'm talking about is most shows might record, oh, we're going to do 30 shows through a year, but we, as much as we can, try to do at least one new show a week. And we've got like our next 3 shows already in the can, just to let people know. And because we have so much fun doing this. And so, and also that this is the second year, we're gonna have some people already wanting to come back on the show, such as our good friend Carl Kennedy, from the drummer from the Rods.
Yep.
And it looks like that we're going to get the whole band on this time. So that should be some fun.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this year it's going to get even bigger and better. I think we made some great friends. I loved meeting you out there. It was so nice meeting you out at the
Yeah,
Metal
let's
Hall.
talk about that, Tom, because it's interesting because I've interviewed you many times over the years, and then at the point where I needed a new co-host, you were probably one of about 3 people that I thought that could do this. And I got to tell people, as far as, oh yeah, he picked Tom because he was the president of a record company. I did not even know that until after the fact. I just thought, you know what, Tom's a guy that I bet could do this. He's got the personality. Um, I think I could get along with him, and it's been the case.
Absolutely. And I was honored when you asked me, and it's true. I know you were shocked when I announced on the show that I was actually the president of a record label. And you're like, wow,
I mean,
you didn't.
I said, wow, and then things just kind of start happening from there because I mean, for example, of course, Fire Rock, which you're a president of, they sponsor our little show, and I can't tell you what a great honor that is. And so that's been a big help. And since you come on board, but the show has really kind of got a branding. Leif Taylor, who sometimes comes on here and co-hosts with us, he like I told him, we need a logo, Leif, to put up, and so we have a great little opening he's created, and I think that makes it look a lot more professional, and people kind of really dig it. I mean, our interview we mentioned during what we're doing today's show with Jeff Pilson, it's got already over like 200 and something hits. So I think we're on a roll here, and what we try to do is like, okay, we have a Jeff Pilson one week, and then we had Melanie Johnson, who's not a household name like Jeff Pilson, but she's in this band from Los Angeles, Second Shooter. And I know when I sent you the samples of the band's songs to check out, Tom, you were quite impressed because she does not look like she would have that kind of powerhouse voice.
Oh, I know. I was shocked. Like, here's this meek, mild woman. She comes up to microphone and wow! It's like, wow, holy shit. I didn't expect, I expected loving you is easy. But I was like, wow. And I love that. That freaked me out so much. I was like, wow. And I think I said to her, I was stunned. I was sitting there going, that woman is singing like this. She had great, I mean, she rocked. That's all you say. She was a great find. I don't know how you found her, but she was a great find.
Because again, a lot of the contacts I have, a publicist I work with, Chipster, who they're a publicist for everybody from Judas Priest to Michael Schenker and Albert Bouchard and Carmine. They got a lot of also up and coming bands. So I'm always constantly getting press releases. So I thought, okay, yeah, we should also we want to have equally number of like up and coming talent as established bands. Well, we want a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that we're doing a lot of the Fire Rock artists, because I think that's great, and it helps Fire Rock out, being a sponsor of the show. And I mean, we got some great bands that are getting ready to release. I mean, I think Friday, the Rhinos, Angels of Babylon gets released, and our first ever, we're actually releasing a country star, Joe Van Dresser. He releases through Fire Rock, which I didn't think we'd ever sign it. I heard this kid, he's a star. It was sent to us, and I sent it to the A&R guy, and we said the same. This guy's a star. He's like a modern country. I mean, I'm not a country fan, but I'll tell you, I'm a fan of this guy. Then we've got Irv Lyons coming up. Irv Lyons is a great guy. He's incredible left-handed guitar player. So it shows like this. It's great that we can give people exposure and bring people on that.
And I want to let people know who are wondering, like, well, of course, you're going to have of course, you're going to have Fire Rock artists on, they're sponsoring the show, but it's not like that. In fact, I mean, of course, we're going to have them on because they sponsor our show, but it's not like they force us to. But I think, too, it allows us to showcase some of these bands, Tom, on the label that people might not otherwise hear of. And it also makes it having a huge opening up the floodgates of who we can have come on the show, because I don't want it just to be all bands I know or I want you to equally also be involved with hey, I got a band that we just signed to Fire Rock. Let's book them on the show. Or I got a friend who I know that he liked to come on the show. That way we pool our resources, and it's not just one person kind of you know booking everybody.
And we're a little bit different too. You think about it, we've had the photographer on here, Scott Braun. We've had the owner of a radio station, part owner there, Jay, is program director. So we've actually kind of branched out. I think it's a little bit different than what most talk shows would do, and I love that about it too. We're open to bringing other people on here that are back, they're behind the scenes, and it really
Yeah.
people don't know who they are.
And from time to time, you'll see me post up on the This Is Metal Facebook page, like episodes of a show before you were involved, Tom. And I do that because I want people to know that this show or this brand has a history. Anybody who doesn't know, it originally started out very much like what I'd consider a radio podcast. Being the original co-host, Joe Lawson, typically shows would be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and it'd be just me and him talking over phone. So it's just an audio show.
Yeah.
And me and him always wanted to figure out a way to have hosts. And then I got into Zoom, and I thought this would be a great way to do it. And he did a few of the episodes with me, and then he announced that he wasn't able to do it anymore. He had things going on in his life, and then it's really morphed into what it is today. So it's interesting to see what it started out as to what it is today, because it really is a totally different thing.
Sure, and that was the way things were done, though. I mean, when I was first started doing interviews, they were emailed to me for rep magazines, or we did them on the phone, or we tried Skype. There was different things, and even the Skype interviews, they would never put the Skype on. They would put the vocals onto it, the audio, I should say.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that watching this show again, it's evolved into something. You started as a podcast, now it's came into a show like this, and great.
And I like this because people can see who we are, and it's just been a lot of fun. And talk a little more about the because another guest we're going to eventually have on is Pat from the Hall of Fame, and maybe we talk a little bit about that, because it was a real fun event. I'd heard about the event for several years. This is thanks to Tom. This first opportunity I had to go, I was his invited guest, and I enjoyed, like, Sebastian Bach, giving his speech. It's everything you'd expect from Sebastian Bach, but I thought, he doesn't really come across as that big of a-hole. I mean, one thing I liked about his speech, he's all for rock and roll, and you could tell he's very appreciative of his fans, or at least he seemed to be that night.
Oh, absolutely. With Wendy Dio, I mean, the queen of rock. I mean,
Yeah.
She inducted him, and I mean, it was a fun time. Tom Morelli, Ripper Owens, my good friend Ripper, getting inducted. So, I mean, to be part of that Hall of Fame is just fantastic. That was the second year in a row I played there. And Pat, the guy that started it, the founders, he's just done an incredible job. It keeps growing and growing. I mean, the year before we had Twisted Sister there too, and Lou Graham, Foreigner, Raven, Chris Impellitteri. I mean, it was just a fun time, and the All-Star Jams are always fun. So, we'll get Pat on here and talk about it. He's got some great things upcoming each year. He's building the event. The event's grown too big, he said. It's getting bigger. So he's moving it to a different location, and that'll be up to him to announce that, but what's going on.
I look forward to having him on and kind of allowing him to get his story out there, because I think of, anytime you really think, even like you think anytime, the Grammys, they have a metal category, and they've really never done it right, if you know what I mean. I mean, Ozzy finally gets one when he announces, "Hey, I got Parkinson's disease and I'm retiring from touring." Okay, that's great. He got it. You know what I mean? And album metal album wins a Grammy of a band I've never even heard of.
Well, the year we've been in there 3 times in the Grammys, and we were in there the year Fiona Apple won as metal vocalist.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I was like, how is that possible? That metal, her song beat Lightning. Yeah. Our song, Lightning, it was a hit song. I said, how is her song even? She had this mellow song, and I'm not taking away from her skills. She's a great musician, stuff like that. But in that category, she did not belong in the metal category.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of almost as bad as Metallica losing out to Jeff Rosefield.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's the way we focus. We were like, I mean, there's no way where she's going to beat us. Of course she did, but hey, she's a bigger name, obviously, and it's all voted. She got voted in there, and congratulations to her.
Yeah, in fact, I think one of the last things Ronnie Dio did was he appeared at this thing called the Golden Gods Awards, and that used to be kind of pretty cool too. But I don't know what ever happened with that. But I think Pat's got something with the Metal Hall because he's kept it going now for a number of years. It wasn't one just these things that just kind of came and went. And I dig the fact that he's kept it going.
This is the 8th year of it. So Pat's a great guy. He's a great drummer too. So he plays with the All-Star band. He drums. He's a really good drummer too. And plus, here's Pat started this. The Hall of Fame. It started off as it's a non-for-profit Drums Against Disability. He has the DAD program where he helps veterans. He helps children with disabilities. That's how it all started. And then he morphed it into. He said, "Metal is too hard rock and metal is an unserviced. They're so nobody knows who they are. They're not getting the recognition." And that's why he started it. I mean, he mortgaged his house, everything to get that thing going, and he's done an incredible job.
I really dig that because I mean, even somebody like Carlos Cavazo, well deserved getting inducted this year, and as everybody that was inducted this year. But that's the guy people former Quiet Riot guitarist, but he's involved with a lot of projects now. But how is it that he never really got that kind of recognition over the years? All the stuff he's done between.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, look at Foreigner finally got inducted. They're getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Last year, Pat inducted Lou Gramm.
Wow.
As a rock vocalist, because he was scared Lou wasn't gonna get the recognition.
Yeah.
So I mean, Pat's an innovator into that. He inducted Twisted Sister. He inducted KK Downing before KK was inducted, before Judas Priest was inducted Hall of Fame. He flew to the Wacken Festival and inducted KK.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So I mean, Pat's done a lot of great things, and it'll be an honor to have him on the show. I'll be happy when he gets on there.
Yeah, and before we wrap it up today, I just want to let people know, like next week, you and I will be interviewing. I don't know too much about them, but I've been impressed with the videos I checked out on YouTube. The band Wicked, they're kind of like a throwback glam kind of rock band, but I dig that. It's like kind of eye candy, ear candy, a little bit of both, but it's fun stuff.
Yeah, they're in Rochester, New York. So their father, Roy Costin, is a friend of mine, the father of the drummer, and he was in the band Argent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I gave rock and roll to you. Yeah.
So they were brought up in a rock and roll environment, So it's really good. And it's just great guys. And Roy actually, whenever Roy comes one of our shows, as soon as I see him out there, I'll get him on the stage and I'll throw him a guitar and I'll go sing and let him play. We'll do a cover tune, maybe American Band or whatever it is, something like that. I'll look at the guy and say, "Hey, Roy's here," and we'll let Roy come up and jam. Great guy. He's the whole family. They're good people.
And then also next week, we're going to get a chance to talk also to Kurt Frolick, the lead singer from Steve Riley's LA Guns. And we're talking to him for a couple of reasons. Obviously, sadly, Steve passed away, so we'll be talking a little bit about that. The future LA Guns, that version of LA Guns is going to continue or not. I mean, they just put out a new album, but the band really hasn't announced what their future plans are. And I know that Kurt is getting ready to release a solo album on Golden Robot Records. He's got a single out called I think it's I Don't Want It or something like that. And so we're going to talk about all that next week. And I look forward to kind of getting to know him as well.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it too, man. Another great show. Really enjoy it, man.
And then I don't know if you got. I want to ask, did you get a chance? I emailed you some stuff. I know you're busy as hell, but this guy Jeremy Edge, he's a great kind of guitar player. He came out of this band. They were a metal band, Candlelight Red, and he's kind of got a hard rock blues project. We're going to have him coming on in March also. So that's about a month.
Check him out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anything else you'd like to say, Tom, before we go?
No, I want to thank everybody that watches. We got some loyal people watching the show all the time and some fans. We're building a great fan base. And I want to thank you for having me on the show too, for bringing me
of course. I mean, the show's only gone better since we've had you on, and again, nothing about the previous host. He was great at what he did, but it really is a different kind of, it's turned into something else. And, and we're proud of what it's become. So I do not apologize for it. I urge people to continue to go on our This Is Metal Facebook page, because what we try to do is let you know, like that week who we're interviewing and when the shows are going to be posted. And I guess the final thing I should say is the interview we didn't get a chance to talk about today, but the interview we did with Cranberry Suit, that'll be going up next Tuesday. And then a Tuesday following that, which is, I believe, March 12th, the interview we did with Rhino that you're talking a little bit about, that'll be going up.
Nice, great, excellent. Well, Rhino releases Friday, March 1st, Angels of Babylon, Aquarius. His album's coming out. It's a great album.
Okay, well, Tom, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. We love talking to you each and every week. My brother, we'll do it again next Wednesday, okay?
So Saturday, are we?
Oh yeah, Saturday, Saturday. So just to confirm that with me later, okay?
Oh, I will. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And what Tom's talking about, we're going to have back on our friends, the Atomic Kings, because they're getting ready to re-release their album on Fire Rock, and it's going to be interesting talking to those guys because since we did the last interview, the bass player and founding member Greg Chasen has left. But we'll have to leave it there, and I'll talk to you Saturday, okay, Tom?
All right, man. Take care.
Bye bye.